What's going on everyone, you're back with your boy Jono for another quick math lesson. Today we're going to look at how to add and subtract improper fractions and mixed numerals. We do have to use our same addition and subtraction principles that we already know. Mainly, the denominators have to be the same, otherwise nothing makes sense. I personally prefer to work in mixed numerals, but it doesn't really matter. If you want to work in improper fractions, that's totally fine. You do just have to make sure that the numbers don't get too massive because it can be a little bit more confusing. Always read the question first, because this will tell you what your teacher wants you to answer the question in, and you might have to work in improper fractions just because that's what they want to see. The first thing we've got to do with any of these questions is make the denominator the same. So again, we're going to use our columns, multiplying both sides by the opposite denominator. I just want to make sure that we are leaving the whole number alone. We can't multiply that by the denominator because 3 and 15 are completely different. So I'm going to multiply the 1 over 4 all by 5 and the 2 over 5 by 4. So the denominators of both mixed numerals are going to be over 20. When I work this out, I got 3, 5 over 20 plus 4, 8 over 20. And now I can add these together. So the first thing we're going to do is add the fractions together, which is just 13 over 20. And then I have to add the whole numbers, 9. That is the whole answer. I've got the whole number, the 3 and the 6 coming together to give 9. And I've added these fractions together correctly, so I know I've got the right marks. So for these questions, you do pick up marks pretty quickly. You get 1 mark for that first step, another mark for the next one, and finally for just putting them together. So these questions, while a little bit more difficult, are a really good way to pick up a lot of marks in a test. We're going to do the same thing for this next question, but there's something we've got to look out for at the very end. So we've got to multiply this whole fraction by 6 and this whole fraction by 5. Again, remembering to leave the whole numbers alone. We can't change those. So this becomes 4 25 over 30 plus 3 24 over 30. Now I just have to add the fractions together. I've got 49 over 30 and the whole number is going to be 7. What's really important here is that the 49 over 30 is an improper fraction and we do not want that in our answer. So we know that 30 over 30 is 1. So we're going to move that 1 to the whole number, changing 7 to 8. Then we've got 19 over 30 left over. So our final answer is 8, 19 over 30. You could throw both of these into your calculator to check. 7 plus 49 over 30 and 8 plus 19 over 30. They'll give you the same answer in your calculator, so we know that they're equivalent. It's just good practice not to leave an improper fraction because otherwise we'd still have to do more work. We want these as simple as possible. For this last one, we've got a mix of improper and mixed numeral, and we're going to do it in both ways to see if we can get to the same answer. It actually doesn't matter which way you do it, but the question might say, leave your answer as a mixed numeral, and then we know to use the mixed numerals at the start, because then you won't have to do extra math at the end. So the first thing we've got to do is change that 45 over 7 into a mixed numeral. So because we know that it's going to be over 7, and 6 times 7 is 42, I've got 6 over 7 with the 3 remaining, so that's on top. That's our mixed numeral. Then I've got to plus that to the 3, 5 over 14. I need to change my denominators like we have been, so I've got to times this whole fraction by 2. So this is equal to 6 over 14 plus 3, 5 over 14, and we're basically done now. All we've got to do is add the fractions together, 11 over 14, and then add those whole numbers together, which gives us 9. So for this, we get our 3 marks for first converting that improper into a mixed, then making sure that the denominators are the same, adding the fractions, adding the whole numbers, nice and easy. For this other side, I've got to turn the mixed numeral into an improper fraction. So I've still got 45 over 7, but then I've got to do 14 times 3, which is equal to 42, plus the 5, so I've got 47 over 14. Again, I can't add these together if the denominators aren't the same, so I'm going to multiply that whole improper fraction by 2, giving me 90 over 14. 90 over 14 plus 47 over 14 is equal to 137 over 14, and this is the final step. We could type both of these into our calculator and we'll get the same decimal point, so we know these two things are equivalent. Again, it makes way more sense for me for the mixed numeral. I straight away know that it's 9 and a bit, whereas 137 over 14 doesn't mean that much to me. So I always think it's good practice to leave it as that mixed numeral. So I know this lesson looked a little bit hard. We've got converting, we've got adding, but really the same principles apply. You can only add and subtract when we're talking about the exact same denominator, and then we've just got to throw the whole numbers together, making sure that if it turns into an improper, we add 1 and then leave the remainder over that same denominator. Thanks so much for watching this lesson, guys, and I'll see you later.